Roe v. Wade, no longer the law of the land. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned that landmark 1973 abortion case. In a 5-4 vote, Chief Justice John Roberts did not agree to overturning Roe, but he did join the other 5 in voting to uphold abortion restrictions in Mississippi.
Yeah, and well before the decision was announced today, people have been showing up to the Supreme Court for and against abortion rights. You can see right here with this live look, crowds are still growing by the hour, with people now joining in either celebration or protest.
This is another historic moment happening in our own backyard. And when the big stories break, we're the team that you can trust. Scott Broom and Abby Larico are live at the U.S. Supreme Court. Nathan Baca talked to D.C. leaders and Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, but first up tonight, Bruce LaShand is here to break down the details of the decision. And it was a pretty lengthy decision, Bruce.
It was, Lorenzo. It's a massive decision, hundreds of pages. But the bottom line is the conservative majority found Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. The justices erased the constitutional right to abortion prior to fetal viability outside the womb that had been the law of the land for a half-century.
Cheers.
Justice!
And jeers.
I'm 21 and I'm terrified!
Illegitimate! As Americans reacted to a judicial earthquake that could shake our politics, impact tens of millions of women, and lead to almost total bans on abortion in nearly half the states. 13 have trigger laws that can take effect immediately.
What about incest?
What about rape?
If the mother's dying, it's a late-term abortion.
Justice Alito wrote the opinion, joined by Justice Thomas and 3 Trump-appointed justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett. The Chief Justice tried to carve out a middle ground, and the 3 liberals fiercely dissented. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, wrote Alito. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives.
With this decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country. But this decision must not be the final word.
The 3 liberal justices say the decision has upset a delicate balance that stood for 50 years. It says that from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no rights to speak of. A state can force her to bring a pregnancy to term, even at the steepest personal and familial cost.
What this means to women is such an insult.
Democrats will try to enshrine the rights in Roe in legislation. But if Republicans take control of Congress in the midterms, they may well push for a national abortion ban.
Our work is far from done.
Now, the majority said that the opinion should not be understood to cast doubt on precedents about contraception and marriage equality. Abortion, these majority justices, the conservative justices insisted, is different because it uniquely involves what Roe and Casey called potential life. Lorenzo?
Yeah, but Bruce, on the same note, Justice Clarence Thomas, we know, didn't necessarily agree to those kinds of limits and talked about overturning other rights potentially.
He did. He actually said there are 3 other precedents that should be reconsidered. Griswold versus Connecticut, that is the 1965 case that gave married couples a right to contraception. Lawrence versus Texas, that was the 2003 opinion throwing out sodomy statutes. And Obergefell versus Hodges, that was the 2015 case establishing the right of gay couples to marry. Now, this is just Justice Thomas writing for himself, but advocates worry he will not always be a lone wolf.
Yeah, open the door.
Lorenzo.
All right, Bruce, thank you so much. Well, a majority of Americans say they did not want this to happen. In a CBS News poll taken last month, 2/3 of Americans said they wanted Roe v. Wade kept in place. Only 12% of the population thought abortion should be illegal in all cases.
Abby Larico, Scott Broom are at the U.S. Supreme Court right now talking with protesters. We're going to start with Abby Larico, who spoke with pro-abortion rights activists. Abby, understandably, they are upset regarding today's decision.
You know, upset, but Larry, I want to point out a sign that's actually just right here behind me. It says, "First we cried, now we fight." And that is very much the energy that we've been hearing from folks out here today since before the Supreme Court decision even came down earlier this morning, they came out here and they were ready to make their voices heard. You can hear the drum lines, you can hear the various chants, and there's not only a call about what happened here today, but there's a call to action for what is going to happen here tomorrow and the next day. Now, of course, with this leaked Supreme Court decision having come out already, the draft opinion at least, it was not a surprise to anybody we talked to. However, people were still shocked on the abortion access side. Many were visibly shaken by this, crumpled in emotion right after it was announced out here. But again, not long after that, the drum beats sounded, new chance that that fight is not over. Now, whether that's through new legislation, calling their legislators, pushing for executive orders, or they say simply voting, that is something that they all need to do. And I will also say there seemed to many of the people I talked to here today to be a power that they found in simply being here together at a time where so many of them feel powerless.
As somebody who loves the law, loves to fight for people's constitutional and civil rights, I am deeply, deeply disappointed.
This decision is illegitimate!
The majority of people of faith in this country support abortion rights. We have the moral high ground.
Speaking of majority, I will say early this morning it was about equal numbers in the pro and anti-abortion access crowds gathered here in front of the Supreme Court. However, in the past several hours, it is almost entirely abortion access. So there's quite a bit of solidarity happening here outside the Supreme Court, and no sign of it cooling off on this hot Friday afternoon anytime soon. Back to you guys.
Abby, thank you. It's interesting now because, as you mentioned, the focus really is on what are the next steps. How do you push this forward, and where does that fight exist? The president talking earlier today saying that he plans to take some sort of decisive action, but really Congress has to do that, and it doesn't seem like, at least at this point, there's much of an appetite.
Yeah, and really quickly, we should point out as well, this is a fluid situation. You see there outside of the Supreme Court, so there is going to be some profanity that may be yelled. You may see some obscenities on those signs, those poster boards, so we do apologize for that.
A smaller group of protesters are also at the Supreme Court today, and they're celebrating. Let's check in with Scott Broom, who spoke with anti-abortion supporters. Scott?
Yeah, kind of the opposite of the story that Abby was telling. You had those type of demonstrators come out in the mood to celebrate. You're going to hear some of those reactions in a moment, but first, because of the high emotions out here, there were some conflicts. Here's some of what we captured as angry abortion rights protesters tried to interrupt interviews we were doing with anti-abortion rights demonstrators.
It's been a little chaotic, but it's been super
That's what happens when you try to
well.
take away rights.
Can you stop that,
Sir,
please?
stop. Sir, stop.
Sir, stop. Why don't you stop?
She's literally just... So I am so grateful to my Lord Jesus Christ that it was overturned.
It's a great win. It's a great win for the country. It's a great win for both morality but also jurisprudence.
We know that this decision only kicks the decision back to the states rather than completely banning abortion.
As an African American who has a deep passion for my people, we have killed over 23 million of our own babies. We say Black Lives Matter, but they really don't when it comes to babies in the womb.
Save the babies!
Yeah. Now, because a lot of those folks felt like they were decidedly at a disadvantage here, one of the larger groups decided it would stage a march away from the court. This is a group called StudentsForLife.org. They walked a number of streets, ended their celebration and their demonstration by Union Station. One of the organizers of that group I spoke with told me they felt so outnumbered here in front of the court, they marched to avoid conflicts with counter-protesters. That group had 10 security officers with them. And when I come back at 6 o'clock later tonight, we will talk to that group a little more extensively. Reporting live outside the Supreme Court, Scott Broom, WUSA 9.
Hey, Scott, before we let you go, I'm curious, now that they essentially have this victory, right, do they see this as an opportunity now to push for abortion restrictions nationwide?
Yeah, that's exactly the plan. Some of the organizers I talked to said we're taking these demonstrations and these protests, we're preparing to take them to state capitals all over the country where they expect this issue to be reopened in front of legislatures. So they're organizing on both sides here, and those organizing efforts are going to be targeted at individual state capitals around the country.
Yeah, this is all part of the political process now. All right, Scott, thank you so much. And we are continuing our live team coverage now with the Supreme Court's historic decision on Roe v. Wade. Wade.
Nathan Baca is live at Planned Parenthood's clinic in Northeast Washington, where local leaders stood side by side with that group. Nathan, what was the mood there this afternoon?
Well, Larry, the mood here is one of defiance. Now, everyone from Mayor Bowser to Delegate Holmes Norton knows that a future Congress and president can take away abortion rights in D.C. And so D.C. political and healthcare leadership stood together to press the case that D.C. deserves a right to say what its own abortion laws are without Congress dictating it to them. Now, Planned Parenthood's clinic near New York Avenue Metro Station is one of 5 offering abortion services in the district. Now, there are several more in Maryland and 3 in Northern Virginia, according to tracking service Abortion Finder. The D.C. area is preparing for an influx of patients from other states seeking care, something that Mayor Bowser recognized.
We will not back down. We know how to fight to protect ourselves and to protect our citizens, but we also know that this Congress can make decisions to pass laws to keep women and our rights safe.
Now, we have noticed a slight increase of police presence here in the neighborhood. 2 officers just across the street here. Usually when I've been here in the past, there's been only 1 and not all the time here. But we have heard no reported incidents of protests or counter-protests here at this clinic. Now, coming up on WSA 9 News at 6, we're going to be sitting down with this clinic's director and talking about patient navigators, the people that they are bringing on board to help people from other states come here to the D.C. area for abortion services. Reporting live in Northeast D.C., Nathan Baca, WUSA 9.